10, Big 550 KTRS. Boy, we've had a busy day. We've had Senator McCaskill on. We've had Gretchen Carlson from Fox News. We had Larry telling us about the new hijinks going on out there. We had Keith Costas talking about MLB TV and the Cardinal deal. Jennifer Williams from St. Louis Closet Company. But that was all JV compared to our next guest. We are broadcasting on KPLR 11.2. That's TV. That's channel 187 on your Charter Communications system. We're at stltoday.com. We're at ktrs.com. Don't forget our app. And, of course, 550 on your AM dial. Longtime friend of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Attorney to the stars, Chet Pleban. Good morning this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
What happened to the...
What? Go ahead. This ought to be good.
What happened to the mustache?
That was 10 years ago that I shaved that off?
All right.
This is what I want to know.
Yes.
Before we get started here, I want to know why it is that all of your colleagues are over in Westport and you're here on Gilligan's Island. So have you thought about that, Gilligan? I mean, seriously.
Well, the simple answer is they don't like me.
I mean, yeah.
They want
is it your breath or what?
They want me as far away from them as humanly possible. No, thanks to First Rule Broadcasting.
Now I've got to sit here because Kelly leaves.
Yes.
And every other guest I noticed sat over here.
That's
now
right.
I have to
you have to sit next to me. It's because we're TV. You should know this as a man who is a media hound that you are. You know that TV, you're now on TV, so you have to dress the part. You have to be the part.
I do it. I had to use a clean shirt.
You look very nice.
Thank you very much.
You look very nice.
Thank you.
See, you got a new
it's an old one.
New drapes. So they turn the old drapes into a shirt. All right. So this has not gotten a lot of attention, but I guess it was last summer. Lake of the Ozarks had a situation where the police officers arrested a drunk underage, right? Was he underage?
Alleged
underage.
No, alleged drunk.
Alleged drunk.
20 years old.
20 years old.
Right.
He was in a boat. They arrested him for drinking and boating. They handcuffed him and then put the life preserver on him, but not correctly.
They put the wrong preserver on it.
Okay.
Right.
Falls over and drowns.
Correct.
How are you involved in this story?
I represent a Sergeant Randy Henry, who claims that he is being retaliated against by the Missouri State Highway Patrol because he's a whistleblower. What he has said from the very beginning is that there's a cover-up. There's a cover-up by the Missouri State Highway Patrol on this entire tragic incident.
Okay, let's go to the beginning.
Yeah.
What did he tell people? What did he whistleblow on? What was his information?
Shortly after the incident, the officer who made the arrest of Brandon Ellingson contacted Randy, and Randy questioned him essentially about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What happened out there? How did this occur? The statement that he made a couple of hours after the incident is a far cry different than what he's saying now and how he testified in front of that coroner's inquest in Morgan County.
Because this information about the life preserver and all that came out weeks and months later.
Yes, of course. And so what he told Randy at the time was, he acknowledged putting on the wrong preserver. What the preserver that he put on after he had this young man handcuffed went around him, but he was unable to put his arms through the preserver.
Right.
The correct preserver that he should have put on him would have been like a horse collar type preserver, so that he didn't have to put his arms through. If he fell into the water, he wouldn't drown. He wouldn't go down. So what happened was he went into the water. That preserver came off. He was handcuffed behind his back, and he couldn't survive.
I mean, it's a horrific way to die.
It's just horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. He treaded water for some 4.5 minutes. And the other issue, the question is, well, how fast were you going?
Mm-hmm.
And why is it that you didn't get it correctly in terms of the preserver to put on him? Secondly, how fast were you going after you got him cuffed, after you put him on the boat? Where did you put him on the boat? The place where he put him on the boat is a place that he shouldn't have been, because you sit in the chair, almost kind of like this chair. My feet can't touch the ground in this chair. His feet couldn't touch the floor of the boat. And
so he couldn't stable himself.
Correct. Anything, you're on rough water. You've been on Lake of the Ozarks.
Right.
And so now the trooper takes off, and the GPS system estimated speeds up to between 43 and 46 miles an hour. Now, have you ever gone in a boat on rough water at 43 to 46 miles an hour?
Yeah, you're a rag doll.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And so, presumably, he hit that throttle and probably stuffed that bow, and that knocked the young man overboard.
Okay, so this is the Missouri Highway Patrol. They're in charge of patrolling the water at Lake of the Ozarks?
Yes, they combined the Water Patrol with the Missouri State Highway Patrol a couple of years ago. The question also now that's being raised is, well, the road officers that now were put on the water, what kind of training did they get once they went from the road to the water? And obviously, driving a boat is a whole lot different than operating a motor vehicle.
Okay, so your client is now what happened to your client? Since I guess he then came clean and said, "Here's what I know of what happened."
Yeah, from the very beginning, he said, "Wait a minute. You know, I talked with Piercy, who was the arresting officer, several hours after this incident, and he told me something different. And are you going to take a report from me?" They said no. He said, "Well, wait a minute. Okay, are you going to interview me?" Finally, no. Finally, they said, "Okay, fine, we'll interview you." Well, during the course of the interview, and there's a recording of this that's available, he starts talking, he being Randy Henry, starts talking about the use of the highest degree of care. He starts citing a statute, 306-125, that talks about operating a boat on the water with the highest degree of care. The trooper who is doing the investigation of this drowning says, no, we're not going there. Turn off that tape. And the tape recording is turned off. After that, they decide that the patrol decides, well, we need to send him for a mental health examination.
Your client?
Yes.
Your sergeant, who's been
29 and a half years with the Missouri State with the Water Patrol, and then, of course, they combine forces, so he becomes a trooper.
Right.
Well, we said, well, wait a minute. Why is he being sent to the shrink? They won't say. Won't give us any answer. He goes to the shrink not once but twice. Finally, the shrink says, "Hey, listen, don't bring this guy back here because there's nothing wrong with him. It would be unethical for me to continue to see him."
Right.
Now, you know, and I've done this for a long time. I have no problem if a law enforcement agency is acting in good faith and has some sort of reason to believe that a mental fitness examination is necessary for a police officer.
Right.
Well, in this particular case, they wouldn't give us any reason for the examination. And secondly, and more importantly, you would think that they didn't take away his service revolver. Now, you would think that if they're going to determine whether or not he's fit to carry a gun mentally, that they would kind of take the gun away. Now, even I can
give me your gun, go see the shrink.
I'm not the smartest guy in town, but yeah,
right.
Keep your gun, go see the shrink, and see what shakes out. Now, that didn't work for them, obviously. So the next thing that comes along is that there's some bogus internal complaint. They investigate the complaint. Now he has been reduced from sergeant to corporal, but most egregiously, he now has been transferred from his home on the north shore of the Lake of the Ozarks up to Truman Lake, which is 1.5 hours away from his residence. Mm-hmm. He's lived there for 19 years. He has a son that's still in high school, and I suspect that the reason for that is that they want him to retire.
So they transferred him an hour and a half, so he has to drive an hour and a half to and from work.
Yes.
Each day.
No, 3 hours.
3 hours total.
Right.
And they're pressuring him to retire. They've demoted him. Does that mean he gets less money too?
Yes.
And they're putting the screws to him, in your belief, because they want him to retire, because are they trying to silence him?
Yes. Yeah, they're trying to discredit him. What happens is on June, this investigation, so-called internal investigation, happens at the beginning of May. They finish it about mid-May. We object to their conclusions. Mm-hmm. Now, no discipline is imposed as of mid-May. He is
mid-May of 2 months ago. Last month. Okay,
correct.
Whatever.
He is subpoenaed to testify for the plaintiff in the federal lawsuit that the Ellingson family has filed.
Okay.
On June the 3rd, it starts. He gives testimony under oath in a deposition, and all the defendants' lawyers are there and represented by the Missouri State Highway Patrol, by the Attorney General's office, by the way. And so he gives his testimony June the 3rd and June the 4th, right? He doesn't hear anything about what discipline is going to be imposed. On that following Monday, he gets a call from his captain or whomever it is saying, you have to be down at the headquarters building in Jefferson City right now to get your punishment. Right? So this is after he gives 2 days worth of testimony that's not favorable to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. He gets there.
Do they tell him for your punishment?
For your punishment, yes. You have to be there.
And his
Jefferson
punishment
City.
Was for testifying.
No, his punishment is in a complaint that was filed against him after the shrink. And he can't talk about that now because he had to sign some confidentiality sort of crazy agreement with him. And I guess that'd hang him by his thumbs if he started talking about the nature of that. But I can tell you this, that complaint that was filed pertains to the Ellingson drowning situation.
Gotcha.
Okay? So now he gets to Jefferson City last Monday for his punishment. The document that they give him is dated June the 1st, right? So, but they don't tell him until a week later. Now, what? They didn't know where he was on June the 1st and June the 2nd before his deposition was given on June the 3rd? I mean, again, you know, you put all the pieces, you connect all the dots, and it suggests to me that they're out to discredit this man. And he, you know, Randy Henry.
All right, now hold on a second here. Let's all right. So what do you want? What's going on? And what's the timeline here?
Well, we have filed an appeal on the disciplinary action, which means that he can now go in front of a review board in Jefferson City. And it's comprised of fellow troopers.
Okay.
Now, I can and they make a determination as to whether or not the discipline imposed should stand or be reversed.
And this man, I don't want to say broke the chain, but there's a blue line, if you will, right? There's a sort of a code that police officers don't say other bad things about police officers. He quote unquote broke that, but did the right thing and told the truth,
right?
The unvarnished truth. Let the chips fall where they may. Right. And so now his fellow officers and that chain of command isn't happy with him.
He's being disciplined for telling the truth. He doesn't have a horse in the race. I mean, you know, he didn't know the Ellingson family. He didn't know this kid from Adam at the time. So he now has to go in front of this review board. And I can tell you this. I don't know who picks the review board, but I'll tell you who doesn't, and that's Randy Henry.
Right.
So I'm going to guess that this is a review board handpicked by the superintendent who will decide whether or not the discipline that's been imposed by the superintendent will stand. Now, what do you think my chances of success are in that forum?
Not very good, and you're a very good attorney. So, I mean, that's saying something.
Yeah.
So are you going to sue the state? What's the next step here?
I mean, we're exploring all of the options, but in addition to that, you know, we have to go through this process, and we have to exhaust all of his administrative remedies, and then after that, there's another process where there's whistleblowing activities, there's whistleblowing protection, those sorts of things.
What happened to the police officer on the boat that night?
He hasn't been transferred. Fortunately, he's off the water. And he was a road officer to begin with, but he is still in his same assignment, same sector, doing the same thing that he did before May 31st a year ago.
So no discipline has come down on him.
Not that I'm aware of. Yes.
For handcuffing the kid, putting the wrong life jacket on, speeding, and having the other kid drowned in his custody. Nothing's happened to that officer.
My understanding is that there was an accident review board, and he got, I guess maybe, I'm told, I haven't been able to verify this, he got like a 5 days off.
5 days suspension for that.
Right.
And the family's suing.
The family has filed a lawsuit in federal court that's pending in Jefferson City. I think it'll be tried next August.
All right. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. There's a website. We support Missouri Sergeant Randy Henry. And that lists a whole bunch of things. And you know,
is that audio out there?
That if you go on that website, and I told Frank, if you can pull that up, Channel 17 down in Columbia had a copy of the audio, and you can clearly hear he starts down the road of the 306 125, and this is the highest degree of care. Whoa, we're not going there. Turn that off.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You want you're quoting standards they should have followed? We don't want to go there.
No. That's not. No, huh? That's
all right. That website is what now?
We support Missouri Sergeant Randy Henry.
We support Missouri Sergeant Randy Henry.com. There you
Yeah,
go. That's
yes.
Chet Pleben
There you go.
mucking it up as usual. We have to get you back and talk about your book.
Thank you, Gillian. I appreciate that.
9:25 here, Big 550.